the past couple weeks, there's been a couple things that I kept seeing over and over again. I had no idea what they were. ComfyUI and Flux. So I dug in, and I think you're going to be pretty interested in what I found. Welcome back to the Idea Supply Chain, where we take a look at where ideas come from and what makes those ideas valuable. Today, I wanted to share my investigation into ComfyUI and Flux. So if you're not in the AI space, none of that will probably mean anything to you. But if you are in the AI space, you've probably been seeing it a lot too. So, first of all, Flux is a new open source image generation model. And they've actually got three different levels. They've got Flux Pro, which is tied into like a service they've got, which is similar to like a Mid-Journey. Then they have Flux Dev, which is kind of the bigger, more full-featured open source model that you can do all sorts of really cool modifications with and everything like that, customizations. And then there's Flux Schnell, which is their smaller, faster version. And when I saw the images that were coming out of this Flux model, my mind was completely blown. First of all, it tends to generate text very, very well. If you've ever tried to generate text on other image generation models, it's a bit of a mixed bag, which is to say it sucks and is almost never accurate. But with Flux, it's actually accurate, I would say maybe a majority of the time. It's definitely not 100% accurate. I've managed to get all sorts of like weird little generations in terms of that. But it's accurate more often than not, I would say. It's also incredibly good at sticking to the prompt. So this is kind of an idea called prompt adherence, which you may see floating around in relation to image generation models. But basically, a lot of times you'll give kind of a detailed prompt and the model's going to pick and choose what it wants to use from that prompt in order to generate the image. With Flux, you tend to get very, very good adherence. Definitely above and beyond what I've seen from most image generation models. And the number of high quality images that you can get from this, it's just absolutely mind boggling. And that kind of leads me into this other thing that I discovered, which is ComfyUI. Now, ComfyUI is basically a user interface for creating these multi-step AI flows. And it's basically a repo that you can download. You can drop in your model weights and like all sorts of different components in order to kind of run this step-by-step flow that leads to image generation. And this was pretty interesting to me because honestly, I've not done a whole lot with this. I did run a notebook on like fine-tuning stable diffusion models. And that was probably about, 2 years ago at this point. And I was able to kind of muck my way through it. I made it work. I figured out just enough of what I needed to know. But this ComfyUI was interesting because it showed me this flow of like what's happening. And then you can actually like run the model against a prompt and see the different steps it goes through. But honestly, probably the coolest thing I saw, and I still haven't figured out how this works. So this is one of my next assignments, is to dig in and figure out what the fuck is happening here, because this kind of blows my mind. So as I was trying to figure out like Flux and all of that, I found these sample images for Flux for both the dev and the Schnell models. And when you start up ComfyUI, you just have this blank canvas. And I don't know what to do with that. Again, this is not my area of expertise yet. But there's a load button, and you can click the load button and select your sample image file. And suddenly it pops up this detailed flow of all the models, all of the different settings you need, the prompt used to specify, like to create the image. Absolutely mind-boggling to me. And I'm assuming it's just all encoded in like the metadata of the images being generated. But like, damn, that is cool. Because suddenly I was able to just like import this image and get this complex workflow that then I can use to generate other images. Except I will say, running this on an M3 Mac was a little interesting, because when I first started doing it and I hit generate, it would take a long time. Also, pretty much eat up all of my RAM. It's kind of a memory intensive thing. And then it generated this image that was honestly complete garbage. It was all pixelated and wonky. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? And I looking around, can't figure out. I'm like, do I need to adjust the setting? What do I need to do here? Do I not have enough resources? But as it turns out, all I had to do was downgrade a couple of the packages. So if you are using OS X and you're getting these really weird pixelated like versions that are like, wow, this is not anything like what I was promised with this high quality image generation model. Then you're going to you just need to downgrade a couple of the packages and set them to specific versions. And I'll try to throw those in the description as well, just so it's there. Because that was what I spent the most time on. You also have to go through and like, you need to make sure you have the right files downloaded. So you download the VAE file that you need and you drop it in. And you download the model and you drop it in like to the models. There's a lot of information out there, and I think there's more and more getting created. And if there is interest in this, maybe I'll put together like an actual, like more detailed tutorial of how I set it up, just so it's out there. But I think a lot of other people have already done that. So you might be better off just finding one of those and going through it. But when I did this, I was able to just really start generating high quality images. And honestly, it takes a lot longer. It takes a lot of system resources. Eventually, I may deploy my own version in the cloud somewhere, especially if I figure out a way to create a product out of this, because I think there is a lot of potential products there. And I've noticed that a lot of the indie hackers who are doing kind of AI image generation stuff have started talking about integrating Flux into their products already. So you're going to see a lot of higher quality images come out, because frankly, it's just better. But I've got a ways to go before I can really figure out how to. I know there's something valuable here. I just haven't figured out what it is yet for me personally. But I'm using it to generate a lot of my images to the point where I no longer have a Midjourney subscription, because I would rather use this Flux model locally, even though it takes longer, because it's just so much higher quality right now. And I can kind of hook it up into my own flows. Eventually, maybe I'll even like create my own little API endpoint running locally with it. But this ComfyUI is just, it's a super cool tool that I discovered. Like, and I've heard people talking about it, but had to dig in to really figure out what it was. Like, it kind of, I feel like it came out of nowhere suddenly. And it's probably been around for a while now, but I just had never seen anything quite like it. And it's such a cool utility for being able to visualize and understand the image generation flows. So yeah, there you go. That's the overview to the Flux models and ComfyUI, because I had no idea what the hell they were. So I figured I'd share that with you. Anyway, hope that's helpful, interesting, whatever. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.